Have you ever felt that nagging sensation, that quiet whisper in the depths of your consciousness, suggesting that everything you've built your life upon might be an illusion? What if I told you that the story you've been living, the identity you've carefully constructed, is nothing more than an elaborate script written by others? This is not just another philosophical contemplation. This is about the most fundamental question of human existence. Are you truly living, or are you merely performing a role in someone else's play? Society has woven an intricate tapestry of expectations, milestones, and definitions of success. It's a masterfully crafted narrative that tells us youth is the pinnacle of existence, that our worth is measured by our achievements, and that following the predetermined path is the key to happiness. But what if this entire framework is built on a foundation of carefully constructed lies? Think about it. How many of your current goals, aspirations, and daily routines truly emerged from your authentic self? And how many are simply echoes of what parents, teachers, society, and media have programmed you to want? The truth, as Carl Jung profound understood, is both liberating and terrifying. Most of us spend the first 4 decades of our lives rehearsing a play we didn't write. The real journey begins at what society falsely labels as the beginning of decline around the age of 40. This is when something remarkable happens. A crack appears in the facade. It starts as a subtle disturbance, a quiet unease that grows impossible to ignore. Suddenly, the achievements that once brought satisfaction feel hollow. The goals that drove you forward seem meaningless. The identity you've spent decades building begins to feel like a borrowed coat that no longer fits. This is what Jung called the individuation process, the psychological equivalent of a butterfly breaking free from its chrysalis. But unlike the butterfly's transformation, this metamorphosis is not guaranteed. It requires something far more precious than time. It demands courage. When the awakening begins, you stand at a crucial crossroads. Before you lie 2 paths. One leads back to the familiar comfort of your constructed identity, safe, predictable, but ultimately false. The other leads into what appears to be an abyss, unknown, terrifying, but promising authenticity. This is where most people retreat. They glimpse the void of uncertainty that lies beyond their carefully constructed identity and recoil in fear. But here's what they don't understand: that void is not empty, it's pregnant with possibility. It's the blank canvas upon which you can finally paint your authentic self. The emptiness you fear is actually the space where your true identity has been waiting to emerge. Let's be brutally honest, awakening comes at a price. As you begin to shed the layers of false identity, you'll discover that much of what you thought was essential to your life was merely decorative. Relationships built on shallow foundations will crumble. Conversations that once seemed engaging will feel hollow. Goals that directed your life's path will lose their allure. This is where the real test begins. Because awakening isn't just about discovering who you are, it's about having the courage to let go of who you're not. It's about facing the terrifying possibility that the life you've built, the relationships you've maintained, and the success you've achieved might all be based on a version of yourself that was never truly yours. Here's a truth that few are willing to acknowledge. The path to authenticity is inherently solitary. No one can awaken for you. No mentor can give you a map. No book can provide the exact coordinates of your true self. This journey is uniquely yours, and its very nature requires you to walk it alone. But solitude is not the same as loneliness. In fact, it's in this solitude that you finally have the space to hear your own voice, unclouded by the opinions, expectations, and judgments of others. It's in this solitude that you begin to distinguish between the thoughts that are truly yours and the ones that were implanted by years of social conditioning. As you strip away the false identity, something remarkable begins to happen. Like an archaeologist carefully removing layers of sediment to reveal an ancient artifact, you start to uncover aspects of yourself that were always there, but buried under years of societal expectations. This is where the real work of individuation begins, not in the destruction of the old, but in the careful, conscious construction of the new. This reconstruction phase is perhaps the most delicate part of the journey. It requires patience, discernment, and above all, courage. You must resist the temptation to simply replace one mask with another. Instead, each choice, each preference, each value must be carefully examined. Does this truly resonate with my authentic self? Or am I simply adopting another socially approved identity? Here's a paradox that Jung understood deeply. True freedom comes not from the absence of constraints, but from the conscious choice of which constraints to accept. When you awaken to your authentic self, you don't suddenly become free from all societal expectations or responsibilities. Instead, you gain the ability to choose which of these align with your true nature and which ones you need to discard. This is where many seekers of authenticity become confused. They mistake authenticity for rebellion, believing that rejecting all social norms equals freedom. But authentic living isn't about mindless rejection of society's rules. It's about conscious discernment. It's about choosing which aspects of the social contract serve your authentic development and which ones hinder it. Perhaps the most crucial understanding about this journey is that it never truly ends. Individuation is not a destination, but a continuous process of becoming. Each new stage of life brings fresh challenges to your authenticity, new masks to examine, new aspects of yourself to integrate or discard. But here's the beautiful part. Once you begin this journey, once you taste the freedom of authentic living, you can never go back to unconscious existence. The discomfort of growth becomes preferable to the comfort of stagnation. The challenge of authenticity becomes more appealing than the ease of conformity. As you continue on this path of authentic living, something unexpected happens. Your transformation begins to affect others, not through preaching or proselytizing, but through the simple act of living truthfully. Your courage to face the void becomes a silent permission slip for others to examine their own lives. Your willingness to break free from false identity creates a crack in the collective facade that others might glimpse through. This is perhaps the most profound aspect of individual awakening, its potential to catalyze collective transformation. Each person who dares to live authentically becomes a living testament to the possibility of a different way of being. So now you stand at your own crossroads. The knowledge you've gained cannot be unlearned. The glimpse of authenticity you've caught cannot be unseen. The question is no longer whether you will answer the call to awakening, it's whether you will answer it now or postpone it until the weight of false identity becomes unbearable. Remember, there is no perfect moment to begin. There is no guaranteed outcome. There is only the choice between continuing to live a borrowed life or daring to discover your own. The journey will be challenging, often lonely, sometimes frightening, but it is the only journey worth taking. As we conclude this exploration, ask yourself, what part of your life feels most inauthentic right now? What aspect of your identity deserves closer examination? What small step could you take today toward greater authenticity? The path to authentic living begins with a single conscious choice. It starts with one moment of courage, one decision to look beyond the familiar facade. Your awakening might not look like anyone else's, and that's exactly as it should be. Because in the end, the only authenticity worth pursuing is your own. The question is not whether you're capable of this transformation you are. The question is whether you're ready to begin. Remember, as Jung taught us, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. The journey starts now.